when you are able to embody this lovely being ordinary in a way that is involving the enlightening intelligence of choosing to be yourself. That's because you're out of a shame button. And although I wanted to talk about a couple more topics, as the sun goes down, I will just stay focused on when you choose to be yourself, it's because you will have reparented yourself. So you own your inner child and you do not conduct that shame button. So you don't actively trust someone who's unkind more than you will someone who is kind. You actively don't seek to get into a fight and or try to do some little game when all is calm. You actively know how to work with your nervous system and to be aware of yourself. Okay, so mindfully aware means that you don't project. And in fact, you don't tell people what not to do. You just share with them, here is what I'm working on with my good therapist if you are needing to, because you actually know that you still have things you're working with. And that's because some people actively are working through maladaptive and adaptive child behavior. So, like Pat Ogden shares, the first trauma is the actual abuse. The secondary trauma is not having support. And yes, your therapist is great if they're a good one. If they're a bad one, not great. Let me know. If you have any doubts, I'll send you to some good online resources for that one. Patrick Chiahan is one. He has a video on that. And there's another lovely lady, although she's like, I don't want to do personal development, self-help, I want life now. So she whines about doing that stuff. But she's good to where you can find out her experience with good therapy. And that's important because people don't trust therapists. Some also don't trust those of us in the spirituality holistic community. And when there's a lack of trust, it's because there was an experience that involved a trust break. But anyone who is in the mindfully aware, self-empowered, enlightening community, we don't generalize. That's why being ordinary is what we are. I learned all about this from Jesus, by the way. And in fact, when you learn about Christianity, there's two basics to be a Christian from my world religion class in political science a long time ago. So all of the denominations, independently from the subcategories, because they broke it off into all of the Christianity is the religion, the denominations are the subcategories. That's how I got it explained. Now, there are those who want to correct me, and I say, you know what, I don't have my professor's number, but I'm pretty sure if he's teaching it, he knew what he was talking about. We also got a book on world religions that explained it too. I'm pretty sure there's a bibliography behind it. So, long story short, though, also my catechism, I remember learning about our actual Christian faith, and that yes, the denominations have some different things applied to it, but that doesn't change the basis of the Holy Spirit and faith. So those who identify with their group, that's called in and out group. That's not the faith that anyone who is of faith instead will know. Those of faith, I have plenty of them. They know that I'm a mystic. They know how I know that some will talk about me as an evil bitch, witch, whatever, because of, you know, this whole stuff that's going on in general as things go through transformation. But the long story short is right here, where feminine, if you're connected to that which is of all creation, like Sadhguru, like the rabbi, like any of, so in Christianity, we don't have a vengeful, spiteful God. That's for the ones who learned about that God, not for us. I didn't learn about vengeful or spite. I learned about a creator that unconsciously loves me and gives me the option. Here's your free will to be kind, compassionate, loving to humanity, not casting a stone, not acting like me, and not going around imposing yourself like the crusaders of the time who basically did horrendous things. Now, some people, they support violence. Those same people are in a vengeful shame cycle. You will notice a narrow piece of consciousness because they will say exactly something that a 16-year-old who's spiting their own unconsciously 3-year-old and 1-year-old because they did not get safely and securely connected, and they somewhere had a rupture. It's called childhood trauma. So narrow states of consciousness, they follow those people with nice suits, men, women, days with their fancy words. Yes, anyone who's so busy trying to be as accurate as can be, if they're an academic that's speaking to academics, then I know who they are. If they're speaking to you, then they already are down a different notch because you're on social media. So when I'm going to look for how you present yourself, if it's eloquently, it's because you're in front of a panel and you're doing something for organized entities, and I will know what they are, and I will go and look at all of them. If you're on a social media platform, you're just the next Joe or Joette. Don't matter what titles you present to me. I know where you're at. Like me, I'm on social media. I chose not to continue academia on purpose. I want to help people. I didn't want to prove to my academic colleagues. That's how it works. They're colleagues because they're subject matter experts that research because they care. The ones who care, I know who they are. The ones who actively are teenagers chase people down in the hallways, like people who throw chairs at each other. So a teenager is basically a human being with a narrow state of consciousness who will most likely say humanity is no good, stuff like that. So anyways, when you, on the other hand, embody being yourself very much like an ordinary human being, like Jesus taught me and God, you're like, hey, I got clairs. I'm mystic. Yes, I don't know what you're talking about with New Age and Luciferian. I think you have yourself confused with somebody that you're not. You're not a feminine in my book, but I'm sure you're feminine for all of those who want to lead their life being treated like, low self-esteem, codependent people do. When you try to share with human beings, you don't deserve to be treated like that. Remember Dr. Daniel Fox in his video on how a person that has abandonment and rejection wounds with BPD will sabotage their relationship. He says, he starts off with, imagine a person who will trust someone who is kind less. Imagine a person who thinks of partnerships as battlefields. Imagine a person who consistently tests another person to see how many fights they can get over so that they can say, see, they made it. Until it's so confusing that you don't know what the fuck is going on. And then, lo and behold, the kicker is they will split and do black and white thinking. You're the angel and now you're the devil. And once that happens, they accentuate the evil and the good means shit to them. Because obviously, this is the part where, lo and behold, it's not personal. Remember, when you're cool with being ordinary, like a grown-up, raise your hand, I got a tail, I'm a mystic. It's not something special. It's not personal, Maria. No, it's not, because I know I'm not an evil bitch, evil witch. But, lo and behold, a human being, why will they accentuate that which is evil? Because their brain isn't trying to protect them from that which is good, but their brain also apparently doesn't believe in love or goodness. So, it isn't personal. I think it's very sad when I see anyone who doesn't know what true love is, one, or being a feminine, because they actively don't know Jesus. They don't know God. They don't know what I learned, Christianity. Again, they can, if they don't believe, great for them, whatever. It's not my business what you want to believe in. I will tell you that anybody who's truly of spiritual anything and faith knows that this Holy Spirit energy, you can use whatever word you want. That's the point. We don't do words. We do heart. And it's in our bones. And so the people of faith, they know where to hear authenticity. The ones who are mesmerized, it's because they still have shame, blame, fault, revenge. They still have unresolved trauma. And if they have a BPD lens and they don't know it, well, and they have a narcissism lens, or they have disorganized attachment, if they have that, well, their brain's working really hard. And the minute they fuck some bullshit up that they thought that they could control, because adaptive child and maladaptive, they're trying to control. They're still trying to ensure that they're not, basically, it's very sad to think about, because it's a 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, it's an 8-year-old, it's a child who needs Patrick Teahan and good therapists. It's not a person who needs to be romanticized, demonized. We don't need those apps. Shortcut, give me a shortcut. There's no shortcuts. And being, my trauma didn't make me strong. It made me, okay, wow, you don't know how to just say, hey, come heal your trauma. So I'm an online marketer. I find the sales pitches not to mention, really, anytime you're using some type of way to capture a person, a feminine's like, what are you doing? You're actively manipulating your tone, the words. You're doing something. You're making something look fancy. This is ordinary. You're telling them a good piece of information. Why you need to make it fancy? Are you selling a product? Because I thought you were actively providing a service, which is for the inner well-being of a human being, which isn't really a product. Product is something, and oh, even then, we can go break down a product in basic necessities. A feminine will care about that which is out there and inward and all of it. So anytime you're bullshitting me, like, you're making it sound like it's something special. There's nothing special. It's something practical. Here's the fluff. Oh, I am an academic again. I just didn't want to continue, but I know how to do fluff. I remember actively learning how to do fluff, and then I remember actively being challenged by smarter people. Okay, this, unnecessary. We want more data, Maria. Ah, shit. My brain doesn't do well with data. Okay, I like a challenge. Brain, you got it. Left mode, help me out with the data. I can't retain it. So with that being said, and light going out, anytime you embody being ordinary, you know you have strengths and weaknesses, which is why enlightening intelligence and being yourself is not a special gift, but it's fun. And here's what healthy self-worth. I'm going to share a story as we close out. One, our twin flames, soulmates, all that. Again, unimpressed by divine masculines, alike feminines who don't claim they're active. And that's only because you don't save that inner child that has kept you safe. Your implicit memory, your explicit, you don't save any of what is you. And so when you're not yourself, I'm going to know. I won't do anything because Pacha doesn't lecture anyone who's in their survival safety behavior because you're already afraid of me. And now that I know all the answers to, wow, imagine all the people living life in peace. Maybe one day. So, before I start crying on screen, that's the saddest thing ever, is people don't know that they will react to someone who's kind in a way that's healable. But that's why they don't need me. There's good therapists out there. And then they can come and do some self-help stuff. I'm so happy, Dr. Daniel Siegel, and all the great smart people. They did hard work. I would not want to be in those labs. Boring. Stephen Porges, you keep it up. Publish that book about love. I want to see that book. I want to read it. So the story is, when I got to go through college, I don't do retaining of data very well at all. I noticed that as a high schooler because I was going to go into law, and I'm like, I can't. My brain doesn't work well like this. I can conceptualize, I can study how something works and bring it, but if you ask me to list to you things, in fact, I have had one oral exam. I'll never forget that one. So it was horrible. I actively don't do well, and it does take you to practice. I have not practiced that neural pathway, whatever it is. I don't have it practiced, so I'm not able to retain easily information like that. Others are. They're champs at it. So long story short, because that's a weakness, it means I'm not a strong member with the group of people if we're reviewing to get ready for tests. Doesn't mean it's personal. It means I'm not strong in those areas, and I want my herd to succeed. And if I'm going to slow them down, I don't have to, because I, one, can study very well by myself. Two, I can ask my colleagues, my college people for help anyways. I just don't have to participate in the team exercises when they all are able to do something effectively well because their brains work well. And so this is where you will be able to notice yourself as you expand and grow and you process moments of vulnerability with other people. So when you feel, oh, you know, I wasn't picked for that thing. So if you're telling a story and something comes up, which does happen, there are moments where we will share moments of ourselves and we will have a release. And that's a good thing. So you're expanding consistently with healthy self-worth people, which is actively why it's important for people to be there for those who are healing from their unresolved trauma, which is now in their peripheral view, so they're resolving it because they need people to actively be able and engage outside of the therapeutic setting and to then be said, okay, that thing, remember, is very important. And the ones who are done being basically oblivious to their self and who fall for suits, they definitely will know how to spot authenticity because they're, again, working with good therapists. This is very important. And they work with good spirituality people too. So good spirituality to me tells you, okay, your mental hygiene, your mental health, all of the updated attachment trauma. We have a well-rounded bunch of people who don't put spirituality on a pedestal or sciences. Neither has all the answers to anything. Actively, they don't. And that's why a smart person will know that. And they will not make a blanket statement on any person. Kind or unkind, they will not make a blanket statement. In fact, a smart human being will notice if I'm actively always second guessing a kind person, that's not needed. You know, like there's ways that you notice yourself if you're curious about building relationships, that is. So we'll be back with more. I don't want the light to get too dark here. And thank you for stopping by. Like, share, and subscribe if you know anybody who's interested in spiritual self-help practices and stories and 5D Mystic here in the Enlightenment Soul Age group. It's really fun, not a flat line. And we get to tease the 7 to 14 charming with their lost boys, lost girls, lost days, and people who actively don't find it cool to do good therapy. They want to romanticize, demonize, they keep it up. We leave it alone. We'll talk more and have some fun tomorrow. In the meantime, again, thank you so much. See you again soon.